Hey YouTube, our social media. This is your girl Lady J signing in, and I really hate the camera that I'm using now because it's really hard to tell what's going on. But looks are not needed for this video. I am coming to you to talk about breastfeeding. Yes, the ultimate breastfeeding. Um, I am a mother of four, and I started out with my first two children. I did not feed. They were a good size. I was a young mom, really didn't know anything about breastfeeding or much of anything about it. I mean, I still was kind of immature, so it did not happen. When I had my third child, which was my son, I had him a month and a half early. Um, so with him, I definitely wanted to give him the best of whatever it was to offer, and mommy's milk is the best. Um, Latching him on was the most difficult thing, but don't give up. You can't give up. It's you have to really, stick to it. Um, I tried many methods, so everything out there is not going to work for everybody, but you definitely have to find what works for yourself. So when you're breastfeeding, it's um, the swaddling method. So I guess you would then be holding baby in the cuff of your arm here and feeding in such a position. Also, you can lay on your side, which I prefer it mostly because when you're trying to get some sleep, those breasts are heavy. Your milk is gonna fill in within maybe everybody's different. Some people milk come before, which was shocking for me to hear because out of four kids, my milk has never come before the birth. It has always come after delivery. So like I said, everybody's body different. I've never had that. But you can lay on your side and feed that way. And if your breasts are too engorged, best to give the baby some off one breast and some off another breast to balance it and also to get your milk flowing in both breasts. Um, I only did it with him for 3 months. Um, it was so fast I can really barely remember. He's three now, and so that was for 3 months. He went from being 6 pounds to 19 pounds seemed like overnight. So he definitely picked the weight up. And he's still a big kid now. He's still a big baby now. So mom's milk is definitely the best milk to provide for your child. If you can do it and be strong and do it, then do it. The reason why I stopped so soon with him was because um he started wanting more. My milk wasn't coming out as fast because I was being a lazy mom with it being my first time breastfeeding around. I gave him my breast, but I also gave him a bottle, which is the worst thing you can do. If you're going to breastfeed, you need to give the breast only. Your body responds to what the child does. So if you feed your baby often, your milk will fill up to do so. If you decide to give your baby a bottle while your milk is not adequate, the milk will come out slow. The milk will come out slow while the bottle is coming out very rapidly, and the baby is preferring the fast milk. So he began to mashing down, sucking too hard. Just had sore breasts. It was just very irritable for me, and I was over it. I was like, oh my gosh, gotta get this baby off me. My goodness, it's all I could think. So, 4 years later, I now have a new baby because my son's about to be 4. So, yeah, now have a new baby, and I have been breastfeeding her for 6 months. And this is where, once you start breastfeeding, you're used to it and you're comfortable with it. You then let the baby decide. So, as in doing so, I fed her I haven't had any problems this time. And when I did give her the bottle to switch out to give my nipples a rest because they did become sore still, I switched out, and I didn't have that problem because my milk was already coming in a good flow where the bottle and the nipple compared. I experienced engorgement. What it was, they calling it mastitis. So I call a breast infection, which means that it's one of your areolas is blocked somewhere in there because there is actually a lot of little holes. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but if you squeeze your breast and you ever breastfeed, it's not one flow. It's actually many little sprouts everywhere that you're feeding from. So one of them was blocked, and it was so painful. I could compare it to uh, the labor itself. I mean, that's how painful it was. I never ever wanted to experience that, and that has helped me along the way to continue to feed her. Because if I ever thought, which I probably did, thought that hey, I want to give up, I want to stop, the fear of getting mastitis again made me feed more. So when I got the mastitis, I stopped feeding her. I started feeding her on a bottle, maybe a day, maybe two. I went to the doctor immediately because I was in fear that the infection or whatever was going on with my body, because it was causing me to have fevers. Then go like I have some triple D breasts, so you can imagine if I had milk in there, they had me at a triple G, and if you get engorged from there, oh, all the things that it could do to you and your back and your pride. It really brought me down. I was emotionally depressed, and I went within 2 or 3 days of having it. Um, the lady said, "Hey, you're really, really full. Are you not feeding the baby?" And I was like, "Well, I was concerned with the infection itself that I couldn't feed." So she told me the best thing to do was to feed. She was like, the virus, well, the infection was with me. It had nothing to do with my milk. It would not affect the baby. And the only way I would be able to get rid of it is that, A, to go ahead and completely keep the breast, um, not filled, but to make sure they were empty. To continuously make sure that they're empty. So I had to feed the baby and make sure that breast is fully empty, and do the same thing on the other side along with the antibiotics that she gave me. People say all the time that you don't necessarily need the antibiotics, but if you do want to get rid of it fast, this is a painful, it's very painful. That's not nothing that you want to continue on with. So if nothing is working for you, the home remedies that they're telling you about, you definitely need to go get those antibiotics, get it cured up. And I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. Mastitis is nothing to play about. So I continue feeding, and I was still getting a little engorgement because I started going back to work. So here you have it. Brand new mom. My 6 weeks is up. I went back in 8 weeks. I started feeding her bottle, and then I would pump. I pump all that I could before I went back to work, and I would pump on my lunches. Now, this was very hard to do. My job did not have a place where moms could go off and do that. The restaurant was not a place of comfort where you could go somewhere and do it as well. So I pump in my car, like, and I don't have tinted windows. But when you got to do what you have to do for your child, you do what you have to do for your child. Along with that being said, I don't want to get off the point. Long story short, it was hard to do. It was hard to keep the supply going. I got engorged at work. I was in a lot of pain in work. It was almost to the point where I was like, I just can't do it at all. I need to dry this milk up. And so this is what really happened. Reality hit me that I couldn't satisfy myself I couldn't satisfy the baby with my schedule. I and when I came home at night, I pump, pump, pump. I pump, pump, pump. So you want to get the milk water stored up for at least 3 to 4 days. That way, when I was doing it on my lunches, I was doing just enough to replenish what she would have used that day, even though I had 3 4 days supply. So that definitely helped with it. Then I finally decided, okay, this baby is mashing down on my breast. She's teething, she's mashing down, and baby is not wanting the breast anymore. She's just pretty much over it. I think it had a lot to do with me going back to work, and she's not getting it as often as she wanted. She preferred breast milk over milk, and she didn't just get it as often as she wanted. So I started feeding at night, and then I then discovered, hey, my body is used to this. I only fed once at night. So after you get past what might fill up, I was down to 2 days. Keep in mind, I was down to 2 days. I pumped at lunch and I fed at night. I pumped at lunch and I fed at night. Till it was to the point where I did not pump anymore and I only fed at night. So now my body is used to filling up one time a day. Not painful at all. I just went from, oh my God, I can't deal with this, to, okay, now it's not engorging as much, and obviously less and less supply was coming. Cool tip, moms. I don't know how it is for everybody else. With me, I've always had heavy menstruations. With this being said, if you ever have a baby, they recommend that you feed the child for a year. So here's a good birth control method: breastfeeding. Breastfeeding is a very good birth control method, and here's why. So, in doing so, I realized after the first 3 months that I did not have a menstruation, and I was like, "Oh my God, what's going on with my body? I'm not having menstruation." And I had got my tubes tied 3 weeks after delivering, so okay, it was like, "Oh my God, I mean, I know I'm not pregnant, so what is it?" You do not ovulate. I repeat, you do not ovulate while you're breastfeeding. So not only will you not have a period, but you can't pass an egg, so you're not getting pregnant. So I'm thinking to myself, like, really? And I didn't find it out until I got closer to the end, because I'm like, okay, it's 6 months later. I'm still not having a menstruation. Your period will not come back in. You will not drop an egg. You will not ovulate until your milk is fully dried up. So she's 7.5 months now. So a month and a half, I stopped breastfeeding her. My milk still wasn't dried up, and I don't know if it's because I breastfed her for so long, but it wasn't painful. It wasn't filling up. It was just there. Like if I get in the shower and squeeze my breast, it's still present. The moment that I noticed that nothing else was coming out, guess what happened? Menstruation. Oh my God, the worst menstruation I've ever experienced in my life. So, it came down like the Niles of Niagara, the Falls of Niagara, or whatever. I mean, I was like, oh my God, let me go to the doctor. Something is wrong. Something is wrong. And she was just like, you did not have a menstruation because you did not ovulate. You cannot get pregnant while you're not ovulating, and the period is trying to catch itself back up. So that was the downfall. But I definitely enjoyed not having a period. I definitely, I mean, there's no greater thing. I just enjoyed not having a period. So I definitely enjoyed the fact that I couldn't get pregnant also. So that's a tip. Very good birth control. It might last only a year, but hey, a year menstruation free worked for me. So Um, I really don't really have much else to say about it. So as I've touched breastfeeding, why it could be good for your baby if you do have a preemie and you want to get your baby's weight up. Mother's milk is the best milk, even if the baby is not a preemie. Still, mother's milk is the best milk. Thirdly, what else did I mention? How to dry your milk up with little to no pain. If you missed it, once again, if you slow the feedings down, get down to feeding once a day, you won't have that problem when it's time to go ahead and fully dry it up. Pump enough to get at least a week's supply, and then also birth control. You do not ovulate while you're breastfeeding, so that's one less concern. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I wasn't rambling too much, but this is just for the mothers, especially if you're a first time mother, or if these are some of the things you did not know. These are fun facts and tips to help you along and stay beautiful and smart and be all that you can be. Thanks.